If you're careful with your investing, this is going to sting. Because the more you try to protect yourself in the market, the more damage you quietly do. Not in a crash, not in a bad year, but slowly over 10, 20, 30 years. And that's what makes it so dangerous. These mistakes don't feel risky, they feel smart, they feel responsible. You don't see the cost when it happens. No warning, no red flags, just a slow leak you never notice. Until one day you realize you did everything right and still fell behind. The good news, you can stop this today. But first you need to see what's actually costing you. Here's what most people forget. Every decision gives you another way to be wrong. And in investing, mistakes compound. The more you try to optimize, the more you lose. Let me paint you a picture. You buy a stock, it goes up 20%, the highest it has ever been. You feel good, you think, I should lock this gain in before it drops. So you sell. Smart, right? You protected your profits. But then the stock keeps climbing. You miss another 15%, and you tell yourself, I'll buy back when it dips. It dips 5%. You think, it'll go lower. I'll wait until it reaches the 52-week low price. It doesn't. It rebounds 10%. Now you're watching from the sidelines, waiting for your moment. You finally buy back in at a higher price than when you sold. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? On the other hand, your lazy friend just bought the stock and held on to it. You both started at the same place, but now you're behind and you have no idea why. Because the costs are invisible. You don't see them on your brokerage statement. There is no notification. They just happen, slowly, silently. And by the time you realize it, you've lost $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000. Let me show you the main enemies. Number 1, taxes. You sell a stock and make $3,000. Feels like a win, right? But if you held that stock for less than a year, that $3,000 gets taxed at a very high tax rate, like 33%. If your total tax rate is 33%, you just handed a $1,000 tip to the government. You made $3,000, but you'll only keep $2,000 of it. You don't feel it when you sell. Your account will still show the $3,000, but when tax season comes, you'll be getting a fat tax bill that you forgot was coming. Now, what if there was a way to lower your tax rate? What if you didn't sell? Let's say your friend didn't sell. He'll still have the full $3,000 growing, and he won't pay taxes until he sells, maybe years from now. And because he held on for so long, he also gets a discount on his tax bill. Instead of paying 33%, he might be only paying half of that. Basically, the more trading you do, the more you donate to the IRS. Number 2, the timing trap. This one's brutal. JP Morgan looked at 20 years of market data in a study and they asked, what happens if you jump in and out of the market instead of just staying in it? From 2004 to 2024, if you stayed fully invested, your money would have grown by over 10% per year. A $10,000 investment would have turned into $71,000. But if you missed just the 10 best days in 20 years because you were waiting for a bigger drop to buy or you sold to get out before a potential crash, your return dropped to about 6%. That same $10,000 is only $32,000 now. You missed 10 days, just 10, and you lost over half of your money. If you missed 20 or more days, you might as well just buy a treasury bond. And here's the crazy part. Most of the best days happen very closely to the worst days. It's as if today it's the end of the world, and by next week, it's sunshine and rainbows. Number 3, unemployed cash. Over the past decade, my mom saved about $50,000, all cash. She was trying to be responsible and careful, but there's just one small problem. That $50,000, it wasn't worth $50,000 anymore. Inflation ate it every single year. 2%, 3%, sometimes more. By the time she finally hit her $50,000 goal, the world had gone $10,000 more expensive. The numbers in her bank account said $50,000, but the price tags at the store told her she only had $40,000 left. That's what happens when you sit in cash, trying to be safe or waiting for a perfect moment. Time works against you instead of for you. These mistakes feel smart in the moment, and that's why they're so dangerous. You don't feel the pain immediately, but years later, so you don't recognize that you need to change right now. Here's the hard truth from years of learning investing. You can't time the market. Not you, not me, not even the professionals. Over 90% of fund managers, people who do this for a living with entire teams of analysts, can't beat the market over the long term. They have resources that we don't, experience we don't, access we don't, and yet they still lose. So what makes us think we can do better from our laptop? Every time you try to time the market, you're making a bet. And you don't just need to be right once. You need to be right twice. You need to sell at the right time and buy back at the right time. Miss either one and you lose. The more decisions you make, the more chances you give yourself to miss. So why would you bother trying to swim upstream? Why not just do something 10 times easier? I built a $500,000 portfolio by my late 20s, not because I was smart and timed things perfectly, but because I understood a few simple principles and learned to do less. I stopped trying to optimize. I stopped trying to predict. For the first time, I stopped feeling like every headline, every dip, every spike required a decision. What I do instead? I just bought index funds and held them. Buying an index fund is like buying the entire market. No more decisions, no more jumping in and out, and no more big tax bills. Here's the part most people miss. This isn't about settling for average or mediocre returns. Over the long run, 90% of professional investors can't even match the market. So ironically, the stock market is probably the only place where getting average results puts you ahead of almost everyone else. It's like driving the speed limit while everyone else is either flooring it or slamming the brakes. It looks average, but over a long trip, you're the one who actually arrives on time without exhausting yourself or wrecking your car. If you're sitting here thinking, but I'm different, I know when to get out, I can feel it, I need you to hear this. That's what I thought too. Everyone thinks they're the exception. Everyone thinks they see something others don't. But the data doesn't lie. The more decisions you make, the more you lose. Not because you're bad at investing, but because the costs are invisible. Taxes are invisible. Missing out on growth is also invisible until it's too late. No one's going to send you a notification that says, hey, you just lost 3% to inflation this year. They just happen quietly. And one day you look up and realize you worked so hard to do worse than a lazy bum who just bought and waited. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Trying hard isn't why most people fail. They fail because they try too hard at the wrong things. Doing less isn't a mistake in the investing world. Passive investing is protection from yourself, from bad timing, from expensive mistakes that feel smart in the moment. You don't need to outsmart everyone else. You just need to stay in the market and let time do the work. Low fees, low taxes, low stress. That's it. Timing the market is only one of the many mistakes in the investing world, according to John Bogle, one of the greatest investors of all time. There are a couple more mistakes that you must avoid. These mistakes can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. If I didn't know about these, my portfolio would have only been half of what it is now, and I would have suffered miserably when I got laid off. So make sure you go watch this next video to protect yourself from making these common mistakes. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit subscribe.